What up, guys? You're back with another Breaking Boundaries podcast. We're here chilling. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man?
How's life?
Life is good, bro.
It's been a while. You just went on a trip. I feel like I haven't seen you for fucking ever, dude.
Yeah, dude. I went to Mississippi. It was cool, man. It was epic, bro. It was like everybody, the Southern hospitality, man. Everybody there is super nice, and it's just really calm, you know. And after being there a week, man, and I pulled up to LAX, and when I walked out of the doors at LAX, it was like the energy was like heavy. Yeah. I wasn't sure whether I liked it or not, but it was like, because my whole energy had shifted the whole time I was there with the calmness and the hospitality, and everybody was cool. It was just a whole fucking different energy, bro.
Right.
And I came here and I'm like, oh, I didn't really care for it when I pulled up to LAX. It was just intense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was intense.
Yeah, that's, I know what you mean. Here, everything's so damn fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trapped in this fucking world here of just like nonstop, just on the go all the time, right? And there's no time to like relax and actually enjoy life.
Yeah, and as soon as I get here, I'm all boom, 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 this, that, you know what I mean? And which is cool too. I mean, I think that when you're used to living that way in California, you'd be bored out there.
Yeah.
You know, because there's nothing going on. It's real slow paced.
Right.
You know?
I know my son was talking about, I'm going to move to Montana with my friend. And I'm like, dude, you're a city boy. Montana ain't going to be good for you. Yeah. But now he's saying he's going to move to Texas in a year. So we'll see if he does. But at least in the heart of Texas, you know, there's a little more city life there. I think that he'd be more used to that than Montana. But yeah, I know what you mean because I go to South Carolina a lot.
Yeah.
For business. And I get out there and like the people are so nice, man. And
they are.
You know, you go downtown, I go to Greenville, and I go to downtown Greenville, and it's such a like laid back atmosphere, and everyone's just like, they look like they're enjoying life. There's smiles on people's faces. Yeah. People are willing to, you know, people come up to you and talk, and you know, and then I get back here and it's just back to just like you said, like fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
It's go.
Well, they're more community over there too. Everybody here is kind of out for themselves. Yeah. You know, type of thing. So, but, you can't beat the weather, dude.
Yeah. That's true. That's what we pay for. That's what we pay for. Dude, with as much LaCroix as we drink on this podcast, we should get a fucking deal with them, bro.
I know. I know. Andrew Tate did that where he's like talking about sparkling water all the time. And I know that was for, you know, because he had a deal with them. You know, he's like big on the sparkling water. But and that's why my son started drinking it because of Andrew Tate. And then that's why I started drinking it because of him.
Oh, that's funny, dude. That's funny. Fucking, yeah. The going back to traveling, when I go to South Carolina, one thing that's different about there is like they're very like there's a lot of Christianity out there, right? So, but like it's different than here for some reason. Like they're committed to their religion out there, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not saying in like a judgmental way where they're like, you know, if you don't believe what I believe, we don't want anything to do with you. But it's like, you know, places are like closing early and like it's real calm on Sunday nights because everyone's going to church and stuff. And like, you don't really see that here.
And I appreciate that there because it's more traditional, you know what I mean? And it's more whole. It's like they've kept their ways since back in the day. You know what I mean? And, I think that that's good for them. And California is more of a free going state. So a lot of the churches are, they're, what do you call them? Non-denominational.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that, you know, dude, I don't think that it matters. I think that whatever religion it is, like, if it's good, it's God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like better the people are in church, you know, and of course my beliefs aren't religious beliefs, but it's better them doing that than nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know,
I hear you. I hear you.
Absolutely. And I was at my getting my haircut today, dude. And my barber was like asking me, cause we started discussing, I actually told him what we're going to talk about on the show, you know, and he's like, you know, what are your beliefs with God? And it's hard for me to say, it's hard for me to like put it into words.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because in my eyes, like, it doesn't matter. God is all love. That's something I do know. So if God is all love, do you think he really cares what you call him? Buddha, Thor, you know, whatever religion that it is, right? Mm-hmm. And the same thing is like people that believe in the gods and people that believe in Buddha, like they all get the same answer.
Yeah.
Right? They get their prayers answered. So I don't think it matters, you know, what you call them, you know, like, so details don't matter to me. So it was hard for me to put it into words.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. So we've been kicking it for a while, and like, you know, if for anyone that doesn't know, like, we met each other to do this pod, right? Like, and so, you know, and I remember you were talking about when we started the pod, like, we both had the question, are we doing this with the right person? And then we did episode 2, and both of us were like, yeah, I'm doing this with the right person.
Yeah.
But, so, you know,
and that's God.
Sure.
Like, that's God, bro.
Yeah, definitely, you know what I mean? Bringing people together. And so, you know, I'm like a spiritual person, but I haven't like really brought up to you like my religious beliefs. So like back in 2023, I converted to Islam. So I go to the masjid and I pray, and like at home I do my prayers and everything. So I am somewhat of a religious person. Now, if you meet other Muslims, you probably like, I don't think people can tell right off the bat that like I'm a Muslim, not only because of like nationality or anything, but like, you know, like I'm a lot different than a lot of Muslims. And I don't want to say that other Muslims aren't open-minded, but like I've been around such a variety of people. Like I just don't really like talk about my religion a lot with people. Right. But it just happens to be the religion that I believe in now.
And how did that come about?
So I've told you about when me and my son's mom split up, and like I went to a dark place, right? And I was in a really bad place, and you know, I've told you the gym, you know, saved me, but also I felt so lost, right? And it's like it was meant to be, because you know I'm always scrolling down the rabbit hole of YouTube, and like out of nowhere, like videos about Islam started showing up on my feed, right? And so I'd come across these videos, and like, you know, after you watch like 1 or 2 of something on YouTube, they start showing you more and more and more, right? So like I watch one video and I'm like, that's kind of interesting, because I've always been fascinated with religion, you know, like I love learning the history of religions and philosophies, and like, you know, I really enjoy reading and learning about those things. And so like I'm not closed-minded to religion at all, but like one video comes up and I watch a video, but then more videos started coming up as I would browse around on YouTube. So literally it was like YouTube that kind of brought the information to me, but I got really interested in it. And like, I've always believed in God, but I was never able to like, you know, pinpoint what I believe to a religion. But Islam made a lot of sense to me, like just from like a logical standpoint. Like, there's a lot in common with Christianity, and I always grew up Christian, but just like the way Islam talks about when Islam talks about the way the world started, and you know, like,
sense to you.
It made sense. So like Jesus, for instance, like we believe that Jesus was a prophet of God, right? Not necessarily God's son. That's what we believe in our religion. And so like, to me, that made sense. Like, okay, another prophet, because there's been tons of prophets throughout history since the beginning of the world, right? And so, and since I was so used to Christianity, and Islam shares a lot of those same beliefs, it's, you know, not everyone likes to say it, but God of Christianity and God of Islam are both God. It's the same God.
So this is Islam.
So I'm a Muslim, and Muslims believe in
Islam.
Islam
is the religion. That's the Quran.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And even with the Quran, just the way that it's written so basic that it's really easy to understand. And so I think that was another thing, was being able to read the Quran, because I've read the Bible many times, a lot of the Bible, you know, and And the way that the Quran spoke to me, it just hit me. It made sense. And so I got really deep in it, and I became a happier person after I found Islam.
So from what my understanding is the Quran and the basis of Islam is there's one God,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not focused so much on Jesus. Like you said, Jesus is a prophet and it's one God. And so I like that. And I understand that because things for me also have to be simplified, so like all these ways, and you have to live like this, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. It's like all too much for me.
Right.
It has to be simplified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God is all love, be all love, be good to thy neighbor, and have faith. And so I understand why, because it simplifies it.
Right.
Through my spiritual journey here, it's been like a search. I go to church, I went to the Buddhist temple, and I got kind of a bad vibe.
Really?
Yeah, I had a bad. It was this statue on the outside of like, I don't know, some Buddha guys and this stuff, but I got like a bad vibe from it.
Really?
You know what I mean? So and so I go to yoga, and I do all these things. What I'm saying is that I find God in all these religions. I'm not judgmental. I know the Quran, and like I was talking to somebody who else is Islam, and he's talking about the Quran, and in the Quran, there's one part in it where it says that something about if a wife cheats, you can stone her to death or something like that. There's like one little thing, but like, so, and I'm talking to my son about it too. And it's like, there's those little things in the Bible about slaves, and there's these different things, and like that one little thing, you can't judge a whole religion off of it,
Right.
And each person, and I believe these things are tools.
Mm-hmm.
These are all tools to get connected with God, right? But your relationship with God is your inner being, and it's your own, and it's personal, and it's different from everybody else's. So you can't, and that's the thing, is that I feel that people get stuck on the word and the Bible and all these things more, instead of more of a relationship with God.
Absolutely.
And so my religion is a relationship with God.
Me
having a relationship with God, me having a relationship with my inner being, and me being able to see God in all things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And through this spiritual journey, I always get hung up in the words of God, source energy, spirit. And it's like, I don't even want to say the word, man, because why am I trying to figure out what's the right word?
Right.
And so, yeah, through my spiritual awakening, I questioned a lot of stuff. I was raised Catholic.
Right.
I was an altar boy for 7 years.
Really?
Like, I wanted to be a priest when I was a kid. Like, there was something that I was attached to,
Yeah.
And I had this priest who was like my mentor. He taught me how to garden and cook and do all kind of, not that kind of priest. So, you know what I mean? And all that stuff in the Catholic Church. I mean, I had word for word everything memorized.
Right.
So there was some connection. My relationship with God, I don't think I even had one then like I do now, because now I have a relationship, but that kind of planted the seed.
Yeah.
And so there was always some kind of, I've always had some kind of a relationship, and I think through this spiritual awakening and why I visited the Buddhist temple and why I talked to these other people is because of me kind of questioning and finding my place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still don't have an answer or a label for it.
Right. And I don't think we need a label, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, some of us might believe in one religion or the other, but I like what you said, and the way that you put it is the whole point is to have a relationship with God.
Right.
Have a relationship with your creator, have a relationship that is yours and is unique and guides you through life, right? And so I totally follow what you're saying, because like you said, religious books are always going to have things in them that we're just not going to understand. And also, these books were written hundreds, even thousands of years ago.
And rewritten.
And rewritten.
And rewritten.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. So, and people say like Bible, and they always say, this is the word of God, especially in Catholic Church. Well, no, it's not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No, it's not. There can be. So now I believe in like channeling. And so you channeling words from God, right? But this book, so if I tell you a story and you go tell another person and that story goes to 100 other people, do you know how many times that story changes
Right.
before it gets there? And also when you're reading a Bible or you're hearing the word of God or a preacher, everybody has their own idea of what they read or what they heard.
Right.
It means something different. You know how you read a book and you read it a second time and you see something totally different.
There's interpretation involved.
You know, so I don't believe in that when they say this is the word, you know, and all that stuff, and they pick and choose different parts of the Bible that they get to use, you know.
Yeah.
So it simplifies it for me just to have my own relationship with God, and that when I am connected and when I'm in a high vibration, that is God, and my words and my thoughts are God.
Yeah.
So I can trust that.
Right. Yeah. So with the Quran, one thing that's different than other religious books is when the Quran was revealed, it was originally revealed verbally. So, and then the prophet in Islam is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so he was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. So these words were revealed to him. And so people were memorizing it. And afterwards, people started writing it down. But it's believed to have never been changed because Muslims memorize the Quran. So a lot of Muslims, especially Muslims outside this country, but also in this country, like they've memorized the book from front to back. And it's written in a way where you can do that, but it was written in Arabic. So any Quran we have in English, it's not the real Quran, right? Mm-hmm. Because the Quran was written in Arabic. It's not going to translate. It's the same with the Bible and other religious books too, right? It's not going to translate perfect because they were written in other languages. Mm-hmm. So that's just another thing that I found interesting about it. But I do agree that like any religious book, there's going to be interpretation to it. I'm going to interpret what something means that I read differently than you are. And it's going to mean something to me in a different way than it means to you. We can read the same verse of the Bible or the same anything, and we're not necessarily going to interpret what the meaning of what we just read is as the same, right? Because like you said, when it comes to spirituality, you have to connect that spirituality internally, right? It's not, spirituality isn't about us believing in the same thing. It's about having something within us to guide ourselves through life, right? And so I agree with that. That like, you know, I'm not gonna go on the same spiritual journey as you are,
right?
And I think that people need to realize that. And if we all did believe in the same thing, exactly the same way, the world would be a different place because we wouldn't have diversity between each other.
No, it would be order.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like if we all believe the exact same thing in the exact same way, how do we learn from each other? Right. And how do we create a world where we have, you know, things that we experience that we can share with each other and wow each other with, because I don't go through the same experiences as you, right. You know? So, but what makes me a little different is like these other things we talk about, right? Because like we were talking about Abraham Hicks, and I think what was it? I mentioned something about that everyone has to suffer, and you mentioned you know, do we really have to suffer? And we started talking about some things that Abraham Hicks says about suffering, and we started talking about basically how like Abraham Hicks gives us these teachings, right? And they're great teachings to follow, but these are the teachings she's giving us while we have all these other things going on in our 3D world. So like those teachings don't necessarily account for these other experiences, right? So it's right. Like we have to take those teachings and live by them and use them as a tool, but there's going to be other resources and other knowledge that we have to use to navigate the other things going on in our lives, right?
Right. I think Abraham Hicks is it's like a trick. It's like the trick to things.
I get
you know
that.
What I mean? It's like it's like the trick to things. And here's the thing, like the Quran, you know, the church, the story of Jesus Christ and all this stuff, it's all just a metaphor. You know, because if you just simplify the whole book of, you know, it tells the stories about this person did that and this happened and this is the right thing to do and this is the right thing to do. if you're just conscious and you're connected with your inner being, like you have all the answers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we know right from wrong. We know consciously what we don't need a book to tell us. If we're honest with ourselves, if you're honest with yourself, you know which route to take and which road to go on.
Right.
So therefore God is within.
Yeah.
I am him and he is me. You know, and that simplifies it for me.
Right. Right. And I agree with that, because in order to have your own relationship with God, you have to have God within you to really connect, right? And so, you know, when it comes to however you connect with God, whether that's through meditation or prayer or whatever, you know, that when you're connecting with God through those things, you know, you're connecting internally. It's not like your physical being is speaking to God. That's your internal being speaking to God. And one of the things that, you know, when I found religion that came to me also, and that I learned is helpful, is like when you are looking to receive those conversations from God, that's another reason like I got really heavy into meditating. So originally when I found out about meditation, I found out through this documentary that I watched. But then I learned as I got more spiritual, like meditating gives you the room within your mind to be able to receive those conversations. Right. My buddy was telling me about a book called Conversations with God. And it's about this guy who he says that he channels these conversations from God. And a lot of people find that like real out of this world. But like, I think that's how we connect, right? Like we have to channel those conversations. Like you have to hear God, or, you know, outside of any religion, however you think of your higher power, your creator, like you have to channel those conversations to connect. And so I'm really interested in reading this book.
Yeah.
Because
what's it called?
Conversations with God, I believe. And so
the guy who wrote it channels?
Yeah.
Okay.
He channels conversations with God. And then my buddy was telling me that in the book or at some point he was asked the question, well, like, you know, what do you mean you channel conversations with God? What do you, like, you can't do that. God is somewhere else and you're here. How are you channeling conversation? Basically, and I'm really paraphrasing what he told me about it, but basically he was like, no, God, how do you know God is somewhere else? I'm channeling conversations from within myself. Right. And so I probably obliterated what he told me about it, but that was the basic, you know, message there. Like you were just talking about, that like God is within, right? And that's how you connect, and that's how you have those conversations.
And that's the thing, is that religions and all those things, they put God separate.
Like, yeah.
From us. It actually puts a separation between us and God. Right? Like puts him over here, and he's not over here. And why I believed in like energy, and energy made sense to me, and that God is energy, because, you know, you always ask the question, okay, how does God answer everybody's prayers? Right. And in all these other places, it's because of energy.
Right.
It's all, God is energy. That's how that made sense to me, that God is energy, because that's how he answers everybody's prayers. When you get on that energy alignment, that's when those things happen that you want. So that's why energy made sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. That makes same thing, because everything in the world is just energy, electricity. Like we're always talking about the law of attraction and how what we think about, we attract. Well, that's because that's the energy that we're putting out, right? Or like
we're on God's energy.
Yeah,
we're on
exactly.
God's energy.
Exactly. Like when I told you that story about I was thinking about something, and then an hour later my ex texts me asking about the same exact thing, but we hadn't talked about it for months.
Yeah.
That's because I was releasing that energy, or maybe she was releasing that energy, but somehow, you know, there's some connection there where we both attracted each other's energy, right?
Yeah, energy is the only answer to how these things happen.
Right. Yeah, agreed. So what was it like for you growing up? So I know you mentioned you were Catholic, but like, were you forced to go to church, or was it something you were really, really interested in? Or
I was forced at first, I'm sure. In the Catholic religion, like you're kneeling and you're standing and you're doing all those things. And but no, I wanted to. Like I was attracted to it, just like my older son is too. He's attracted to it. But as a kid, my mom used to always tell me, "Oh, you go to church on Sundays, you sin on Mondays."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I was out there doing bad stuff, all week. But there's just something about it. There's always been something, and I've always had a good relationship with God, and because, I've always got away with things my whole life.
Right.
And even people that know me, they're always like, how do you always get away with things? And so I've always had like this close relationship with God. Like I'm like divinely guided and protected my whole life. There's no other explanation for why I'm still here today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's like no other, and even people that know me, they're just like, dude, how are you still alive? You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I have a strong connection with God. And here's the thing too, is, what I'm saying, like, it's all the same shit. Buddhism, Muslim, Christianity, manifesting, spirituality, because I go to church with my son, and this pastor, when he speaks all the same stuff I believe in, but just in different words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's a metaphor. Like he's talking about his granddaughter, and he's like, I wanted my granddaughter to have blue eyes and brown hair and this or that, or how he wanted her to look. And he's like, and that's exactly how she came out. And he said, that's because of my strong relationship with God. So in the same time, he's just talking about manifesting the same shit. You know what I mean? But everybody has to put like this certain label on it. And, and I don't go to church, and, or spiritual people are like, I stay away from that, and, and da, 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 da. Like, that's not open-mindedness, dude. And we're supposed to be able to, if you're spiritual, you should be able to find that everywhere. Yeah. I believe, Right. And, so it's all the same stuff, know, but even him on stage, he has to transform it so people don't get turned off. Like he won't talk about energy, or he'll like knock it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's all the same thing, man.
Right. Right. I personally, I do believe that God is there. I do believe that God is a creator. I don't believe that he's anything like us. I believe that he's a different entity. He's not a human. I do believe in the book of my religion. And I do believe in manifestation at the same time. And some people would say that my belief in manifestation is an evil belief, right? But I just believe that I manifest through my relationship with God.
Yeah.
I believe that the things that I ask for come to me because God grants me those things, because I've asked for those things, right? So it's a little weird for me because I can't relate to everyone, and I don't go against the book of my religion, but at the same time, I don't interpret it in such a black and white fashion. And so it's a little interesting for me. And like the people I hang around, I don't have any other friends that are Muslim, other than the people that I go to the masjid with, and everyone I know, like I have such a diverse group of friends. We all have a little bit of differences in our beliefs, just like we do. Yeah. And, but I believe it, and so that's why it's weird for me, because I believe in the idea of manifestation. I believe that's real. And I believe in what you were talking about with energy, and the energy is everything in this world. And the energy we put out is the energy we get back. And then at the same time, I believe that God is there, and I believe that he's on my side. And even with all of my shortcomings and my mistakes, that I'm blessed and because of my relationship with God. So it's a little odd for me because I'm not like anywhere specific, you know what I mean? And so I'm a little out of place with every idea. But
yeah, and that's where I am. I feel a little out of place, everywhere. But when dude, God is all fucking good and God is all love.
Yeah.
And when you believe that and you have that relationship, like nothing else matters.
Right.
Nothing matters what people think, you know, who I am or what I've done. You know, when you have that security of knowing that he loves you and that's all that matters, dude, it's like you can just walk this earth, man, and be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a beautiful thing, dude, to have that relationship. That's why when and you know, chicks that I date and stuff like that, it's like you have to believe in something. I don't care what it is, but you have to believe in something greater than you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cause,
it kind of defines people's personality and who they are. You know what I mean? It's a big deal. You know, it's like 50% of what I'm looking for in a woman. They have to have a connection with something greater than themselves, you know?
Yeah, because it provides some sort of like purpose for being here, right? And like being around people that believe they have no purpose, they just don't care about anything.
Yeah.
Right? And so I struggle to be around those people that are just like so free that they don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
You know, and so I get what you're saying. And I think I'm probably similar. And yeah, you don't have to believe what I believe, but believe something.
And here's another thing too, dude. I don't believe in hell.
Okay.
I don't believe in hell. I don't believe, you know, in other pastors, and they say, you know, God is a judgmental God and a just God. You know, like I said, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that you're sent to a place. I believe the fact that you have to come back to earth and do it again. I believe in karmic
reincarnation,
karmic cycles.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end, like hell and heaven is a state of mind. You know, that's what I believe. You know, so I don't believe in hell anymore. And it's like, I could say what I believe all I want, and that's just my fucking opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my fucking opinion, because I'm not going to know until I get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how it was. So, you know, I mean, how does it work, man? That the murderer or the pedophile, or, you know, how does that work?
Yeah.
You know, they reincarnate and they have to go through pain.
Right.
You know,
right.
But I don't think that God sends any, if God is all love, bro, how can you say he sends you to a burning place to get tortured? Because something that's all love could not do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying and why you believe that.
And that's it. And like, I've felt God's energy. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've said it time and time before, like just overwhelming, just love, man, where it's unbearable. Now, if that's what God's energy is, how could he have? But then again, there's negative and positive to everything. Mm-hmm. So does God have a negative and positive?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
You
right.
know?
No, I get what you're saying. So I do believe in hell. I don't think that heaven and hell are this straightforward thing like we like to believe it is. Like, you know, I don't think we can really grasp the concept of what happens after we die. So when we talk about you're sent to this burning place, that's not what I think hell is. But like you're saying, you know, yes, God is all love. And so why would he send your soul to burn in hell, right? But what about if God is all love, what does he do with the people that choose not to love him? You know what I mean? Does he want those people around him? If they choose to say, you know, and it's not even about do I believe in you or not, but you know, there's people out there that are like completely not just anti-religious, but like anti-God. And it's like, what about those people? Are we sure there's not a place where people who choose to just completely choose to defy God? Is there not a place where he's like, hey, I don't want you in my kingdom?
I mean, that's a good question. And like, especially evil people,
right?
You know, that are evil and mass murderers and, you know, like I said, pedophiles, like what happens with them?
Right.
you know, and the only answer I could get is it's a karmic cycle. They get reincarnated back on this earth, and that's where they get punished. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah. You know? We're never going to have the answers, but you know? I like thinking about this stuff because it's, you know, I think just having this discussion and thinking about these things, even though we don't know the answers, like because that's also, creating a connection there.
Because also, you know, if you're being punished, that would be revengeful and not forgiving. True. And if God is telling all of us to be forgiving and not revengeful, how could he be revengeful and not forgiving? You know what I'm saying?
But the idea that we're being told to be forgiving is coming from, you know, a religious book or coming from one idea of what God is, right? So is there a chance that that's not actually what God's telling?
That's not accurate.
You know.
Well, there's this guy I watched the video on, and he was a pastor's son, been to every single church, and he's a spiritual guy now, right? And he comes to his belief after reading every religious book and all that stuff. And he's saying, so also, when you're revengeful or when you have anger towards somebody, you're attracting more of that into your life, right? So because you are, when you don't forgive people, like that's because it says, you know, and that's what the spiritual guy says, like those are the only 2 commandments out of the Bible that are true is to love thy neighbor, you know, and I forget what the other one was, and love God or something like that. But he was saying how those are the only 2 commandments, right? And we added on all these other commandments. So it's true when you think hurt for somebody or revenge or you're angry at somebody, like that reflects back onto you. You suffer from that.
Right.
So that's a suffering thing. You hurt yourself when you have anger towards others. So you're directly getting that karmic cycle from having that.
That makes sense, even just like on a like surface level, like from a logical standpoint, because when you have grudges and hate toward other people and you can't let go of whatever caused you to have that anger or that hate, well, then you have this like residual negativity floating around in your vessel, right? Like, or within you, right? And so like, I do get that. That does make sense.
So you suffer more.
Yeah, because then you're using energy to care about those things that is energy that could be used to do good things for yourself.
So how can God send out that energy?
Yeah, it's a good question.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why the only answer comes to me is that you reincarnate and, you know, you have your karmic cycles.
But I don't think that, just from the standpoint of my beliefs, I don't think that when we talk about God sending people to hell, or that's hell is where you go when you die because of the way you lived your life, I don't think that's necessarily God holding grudges or being revengeful. I think it's more just like, hey, like you chose not to live a certain way, and so now like I'm not inviting you to come where I'm at, right? And so, you know, it's kind of like
right. So I'm not inviting you to come where you're at. So you have to reincarnate on this earth and go through more pain. Like you can't come here yet. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
So you can't come here yet. So that's why I believe in the reincarnation and that you have to go through these karmic cycles. And if you keep repeating the same thing, you have to keep going through these karmic cycles. And then, you know, you get to be here. Right. So like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at the same time, dude, like I've been in hell on earth, like hell. Like I know what hell feels like. Mental torture, man, in my own head. Like I've been, like I feel like I know what hell feels like.
Right.
You know what I mean? On this earth, and I feel like this is my last time on this earth. I feel like the spiritual awakening is like your last time on earth. That's what I feel like.
Like your saga is complete.
This is my saga is complete, and I also think that because I have gotten away with everything, and I've always been protected, right? And like it never ends, and I never get blacked out, is because this is my last.
Right.
This is my last time on Earth. I feel like this is my last time on Earth.
That's interesting.
I absolutely 100% feel like this is my last time on Earth, man. Like this is my shot. This is my big, shabam, bro, is this time on Earth, man, right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's interesting. I never really have these discussions with people, but I think maybe, because we agree on a lot of things, I think maybe this is where I don't want to say disagree, where we have a difference in beliefs.
Yeah.
The most.
Opinions.
And so like I love hearing about this because everything you're saying makes sense. Like I could see Earth being hell. You know what I mean? Dude. Like that's where you go when you choose to live or not live a certain way while you're alive. So like I totally get it. So like reincarnation, the idea of it comes from Buddhism, right?
I have no idea.
I want to say that reincarnation is a Buddhist idea. And the way that you live one life determines the next life that you're going to have, right? So like, do you believe the way that they do that you can be reincarnated as something other than human? Another animal?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even, I'm sure it's possible, but I mean, I wouldn't mind coming back as a dog, bro. They're pretty fucking happy all the time. You know what I mean? They're pretty fucking happy all the time, dude. Right. Know?
But I'm just saying, like, so, like, okay, you live one life, like, and you live one life on Earth, and then you die, and when you live that life on Earth, you were a horrible person. Do you think that you could be reincarnated as a punishment to come back as an insect that gets smashed by a human?
Maybe.
Or do you
think insects have spirits?
Well, no, not necessarily.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. But
you come back as an insect and be squashed.
You know what I mean? Like that's your punishment for the way you lived your last life.
That's not really,
But then I guess like, okay, if insects don't have spirits, and this was the way the world works, like how would your next life be determined? Because you didn't really have the free will to make the same mistakes you have.
Right. So that would make sense. Yeah. Like an animal can't really be bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have the same like brain. They don't think of things the same way as us. It's more simple. So no, I don't think, I don't know, bro.
It's interesting thoughts, man.
That's a rabbit hole I haven't gone down, man.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, with this spiritual awakening, bro, like I don't feel the same way about death anymore.
Right.
Like I'm not afraid to die. I don't look at death the same more. I've dealt with a lot of death, man, of close people that I love, dude, a lot of death in my life, man. And I don't look at it anymore as like a sad thing or a bad thing. I was like, oh, they got to transition. You know what I mean? And so like, I don't have a fear of death anymore. Like after having like through meditation and these miraculous moments and these connections with God, like I don't fear it anymore.
Right.
I'm disconnected from it. And I kind of like, cause people tell me people die or people that I'd known or somebody close to them. And I just I don't feel any, I don't feel bad about it, bro. And I don't know if I should feel bad about that I don't feel bad about it, It's kind of weird, man. I'm like completely disconnected from it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like somebody tells you, oh man, my father just died, my brother just died. I'm just like, okay. You know what I mean? And I feel like part of me, it's like that I'm cold to it, but I just don't have a relationship with it or a feeling for it.
I don't think I really feel bad for it either. I think I can empathize with those people a little bit because I know what it feels like to lose someone, and it's probably more painful for us to lose someone than it is for the person that was lost. So I can empathize with them a little bit. I'm not a very sympathetic person though. And it's like, I look at death as a normal part of life. And so like, if you need someone to talk to because you're feeling down, I'm okay with listening. I'm not all that great about like giving my condolences with things like that though, right? Because I think of death as a normal part of life. So I get what you're saying because it's hard for me to feel bad even if like I can understand your pain, right? But I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Talk to me about it. My condolences. You know what I mean? I have a really close friend who we always talk about how dudes shouldn't have friends that are chicks. This is like the one girl in my life that like, she's my friend, but like I fucking love her with all of my heart. You know what I mean? And she had her father passed away recently, and like I said, I'm not the type of person to be like a sympathetic, like my condolences and stuff. And so like, but I know she was heartbroken. She doesn't like to talk about her feelings a lot, but like, it was like, I don't know what to say when someone loses someone, because I believe it's a normal part of life, regardless of what religion you are or what your spiritual beliefs are. Like, people are going to pass away. And so like, I really like, but I love her so much. I'm like, how do like I make her like understand that, like, you know, I love her and I'm there for her. I didn't know what to do, you know? So finally I just like texted her and I was like, you know, like if you need like anything, need to go on a walk, need to take your mind off of things, you know, hit me up. But it was like, I usually don't do that with people. I just did it with her because I fucking love this girl so much. And so I totally get what you mean. I'm not good at that shit, dude.
The best thing is not to say anything. There was this like grief counselor guy at church one time, and he came up and talked and you know, and he said like the things you don't do when somebody dies. And I realized like I do all those things. Like, you're not supposed to like relate to like something that happened to you, like your pain, you know, there's, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'm the same way, dude. My older son's the same way too, is he doesn't have like, he tells me he feels bad because he doesn't have any like really compassion for people when they say these things or whatever that happens. He's the same way. He's like, Dad, I have no feelings for it, you know? And I'm like, that's okay, man. You know, I just don't. And I've noticed people lately that have just dealt with somebody dying and they don't have like an expression on themselves either. Lately. There's a disconnection from death going on. But I definitely feel like, you know, should I feel bad that I'm that way? You know, but then easier said than if it happens to you, somebody close to you.
True.
You know what I mean?
But then when it does happen to you, do you want people to do the things that you don't do? And like, you know, because like to approach you and like want to have, you know, want to give their condolences and like want to talk to you about it? Or do you expect people to do the same as you?
Yeah, like people would know exactly. So I don't want it. You know, like people would come to me and they mention it, and somebody just like a few weeks ago, because my little brother died, you know, years ago. And he's like, oh my gosh, your brother died. And oh, I'm so sorry. And this and that. I'm like, it doesn't even bother me anymore. It was so long ago, you know, and like I said, I'm completely disconnected from it. But at the time when it happened and people would bring it up, it's like, no, I don't want you to bring it up. Yeah. Why do I want to think of it?
Yeah.
You know, I get what you mean. Come up and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And this, that. It's like, dude, I didn't even want to talk about it. I'm trying to forget about it. You know? So I think, I wouldn't want people to, you know, I wouldn't want to have those conversations.
Yeah. Same. I think I'm exactly the same. Like, years ago, my uncle passed away, and he was like a very like fatherish figure to me. And like, I loved him with very much, you know. And then my stepdad passed away, who was like, you know, I loved the hell out of that guy. And like, yes, them passing away saddened me. And I do think about it sometimes. And like, you know, I think back memories and I miss them. You know, there's part of me that's like, man, I miss those guys. But then like when I have family members who like when their birthday comes up or like, you know, Father's Day comes up, like my family members are like posting like happy birthday to my brother, my uncle, or whoever it is in my family. And it's like, I can't do that. Like you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to bring it up myself, nor do I want people to bring it up to me. I'm like, death happens. And we have to live with it. Like, people are going to die and we're going to stay here. And that's how life is. And so like, I don't like to make a big thing out of it. And, you know, with death being a normal part of existence, it's like, you know, I don't I know what I believe happens when we die. No one knows 100% for sure, but like there's a reason for death, and the person that dies, it's probably not nearly as much pain for them to die with whatever happens after death as it is, for us. So like while we're still here. So it's just like I just don't like to talk about it, man. I like to I like to have memories, and I like to like remember times that I had with people and talk about those times, but I don't like to associate those memories with their passing.
Yeah, and do you think they want that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Do they think they want us in pain and to think about it? And I know, and people do that, and they're throwing celebrations and celebrating the day the person died, 8 years ago and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, you're just keeping that negative, bad energy here.
Yeah.
And there's somewhere else where they say that I don't know what religion it is, but if you keep their stuff around and you're stopping them from passing on, from going on to the next level by keeping them here.
That's interesting.
Right. By
keeping, it sort of makes
keeping
sense.
Their spirit here.
Yeah. Because it's energy, right?
Yeah. And they say about like burning their clothes, and not keeping their clothes because they can't go until you let them go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we could be torturing our loved ones.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just shut up, man. Stop freaking crying. Let me go, dude.
Go on with your life.
It's like they're gone, man, and they're gone. And I know you love them, and I've dealt with a lot of death, dude. And like I said, they're still here, man. I recently been talking to my brother a lot lately, man. Felt his presence. But I know today, speaking of your uncle, I was very close to one of my uncles, and there was a guy at the restaurant today where I was eating, and I looked and he reminded me so much of my uncle. And I know I felt bad because I wasn't kind of there for my uncle before he died, again, it was just like, I knew he was going to die, and there was like this detachment from it. I don't know, man. Yeah. Death is weird, dude.
It is very weird. I was never the type to believe that like loved ones are still there after they pass away. And we had a little bit of a discussion about that, but it's kind of weird, man, because with my stepdad, like there's been multiple times, you know how like you're sitting on the couch, if I went and sat right next to you or on a bed, like you feel it sink down.
Yeah.
Like I swear, dude, there's times where I've been laying in bed and I'm not fully asleep, and all of a sudden it feels like something sits on my bed next to me, dude. And automatically my stepdad pops into my head. Yeah. And like, so I started to have this belief that like, it's not necessarily, his physical being there, but it's like, it's his energy there. Right. Yeah. And like, there's enough force within that energy to make me realize that he's there to where I can just feel him right next to me. Right. Yeah. And it's like, and it was a very comforting feeling. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting the way my mind's changed about those things over the years, but it's, I'm kind of like you. I'm a little more connected with the idea of death than I was before, where you say there's a big disconnection with death. It's like we avoid the thought of it, but like the part of life, man, it's good to understand that it's not necessarily, death isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like there's a reason for
I feel like they got the reward. Like my brother was 29 years old, dude. I feel like he didn't want to be on this. He died in a trucking accident, but the way his actions were and the way he was being, he didn't want to be here anymore.
Right.
And he wanted to go. And I feel like that was the reward.
Right.
Him getting to go.
Yeah. I kind of think the same thing, that
like that's the reward.
Yeah. Like death is a blessing. It's like, hey, you fulfilled your reason for being here. Right.
Or, hey, you can't take this no more. I'm going to take you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Relieving you of your pain. Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. I agree with that. What about like, do you believe in like haunted, like ghost shit?
No,
I don't either.
I don't believe in that shit. Dude.
Like I have family members that they're like, oh, that place is haunted.
Yeah,
like, and I don't believe in that.
I mean, there could be like realms or but it's all just our opinion, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all just our opinion.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't believe in haunted houses or
no,
shit
I don't
like
believe in that shit either.
Yeah.
But I've felt energies. So like there's different places that I've gone and I've felt these negative energies. And is that, death, so like the desert of like California is like known to be Indian burial grounds and stuff like that, and I've felt negative energies in those places when I go to those different places. So what are those negative, or like I went to Stockton with my kids, we stopped in Stockton, and dude, the energy was like, and we stayed at this hotel, and both me and my sons had nightmares, and the energy was just really, really bad there, So is that from the present things going on there? Is that from that? Who knows, dude?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I do believe heavily in energy, so I think there could be like residual, like evil energies, in places wherever that energy came from, dissipated from the earth. But I just don't believe in like, oh, well, this person's still living in this house because it was their house, and now they're gonna haunt you for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
And then also like I'll tell you one more thing about Islam. So in Islam, basically the way it goes is, prior to the creation of humans, there was another being that was created, and they're called the jinn. And the jinn, in the Bible, how they talk about we were made from the dirt of the earth. Well, the jinn were made from fire. And so, basically, the way that Satan came about in this religion is like Satan was originally a jinn. His name was Iblis, and they lived the earth, and they were expected to love God just like we are. And then God made humans, and He made humans from the earth. And when He made Adam, he basically said, "This is my new creation. Praise Him." And Iblis got very upset. And Iblis was like the greatest jinn to God. He was he was a soulful, obedient jinn to God. And when he said, "Praise my new creation," Iblis gets very upset. "What do you mean, praise my new creation? He's made from the dirt of the earth. I'm made from fire." Very arrogant, not humble at all. And so that's basically how God, cast Iblis to hell, and then he became Satan. But the jinn are like in another dimension now, right? So like they're believed to still exist, but it's like another dimension. And to me, like, I don't know, I actually believe it, because we're always talking about people believe in like demons and things like that. Like when we talk about demons and things, I don't believe demons to be like these things that need to be exorcised out of you and things like that. But like, I do believe that there's other dimensions and other realms within the world where other beings could be residing, right? And so like I have this experience a lot when I go to sleep. I get really bad sleep paralysis. And I have this experience when I go to sleep, and it's frequent. It happens a lot, where I'm just falling asleep, and the next thing you know, there's like this energy that I'm fighting, and it's like what most people would call a demon. And I'm like physically fighting it. I'm laying in my bed, and it's like trying to attack me, and I have my hands up, and I'm grabbing it, and I'm yelling at it, "Fuck you, you're not stronger than I am, you'll never take me over." And I'm like fighting this thing. And part of me believes that's another being from another dimension that is like coming to our dimension. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. Weird shit that
I believe in that, like spiritual warfare. Like there's spiritual warfare going on,
Exactly.
And there's like a spiritual warfare going on right now. Like I believe in that. But here's the thing too, is that the Bible says, what is it about God told one brother to kill another brother? You know about that?
God told one brother to kill another brother.
Yeah, to sacrifice another brother or something like that. They say, and like, so I don't believe in that. You know what I mean? Like, God wouldn't say to kill another human being, right? And then also, who the fuck was there to write about Adam and Eve?
Well,
how if Adam and Eve were the first human beings, so how is it that the story was told?
They weren't necessarily written about at the time of their life, but the story was revealed to a prophet who wrote about them, right? So when the book of Genesis was written, these words were revealed by God to the prophet who wrote those words and told the story.
So it's the same thing. It's just channeling
a conversation with God.
Conversation with God. Yeah,
exactly. And the Quran was revealed through the angel Gabriel to the prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so basically, that's kind of the same thing. That's conversations being channeled through some spiritual channel to have those words.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Good shit.
Yeah, man. We are starting to get traction. We're slowly starting to get people hearing us. And I know you've talked to some people that are watching us, and I've talked to some people that are watching us. And, it's kind of cool that, like, the things we talk about, people are relating to this stuff, man.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. I was telling you, I was just talking to a guy today who said that he's been watching our clips, and he's like, hey, that's cool that you guys talk about Abraham Hicks. And he really liked that. And so that was cool for me to come, because you're the only one I've talked to about that. And so to, like, come across someone else who I had no idea knew anything about Abraham Hicks and have that conversation, like,
right.
It's really cool, dude. And if we weren't making these clips and having these podcasts and putting this stuff out there, I never would have had that conversation with him, right? And so that's really cool. So we need your help. Subscribe, hit us up on Instagram at Breaking Boundaries. Hit us up on TikTok at Breaking Boundaries Pod. And then subscribe to our YouTube, guys. Smash that subscribe button. We need it really badly. We could use your help. And we'll keep putting content out. So if you're enjoying it, drop a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're not enjoying it, if you disagree with us, still drop a comment. Let us know what you think. But everyone that is watching it, everyone that is supporting, we really appreciate it. And we love you guys.
See you next week.
Peace.